empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. Amen? For in him, in who? Jesus. Say Jesus.
Jesus.
In him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him who is the head of all principality and power. Now, think about this. He is the head of all principality and power. He's the head of all that. Have you ever found yourself praying against the principality and powers? How about we just recognize Jesus as the head?
Thank you, Jesus.
And thank him for that and begin to pray like that, rather than us trying to have power. Are you getting this? How many think Jesus can get the job done? If we join in. Okay? I mean, go on. I don't know. I'm enjoying myself today. Maybe I might be having too good a time in the church. Is that possible?
I don't think so.
Gonna give the Lord the highest praise. Hallelujah. Okay. I know, I got excited. Let's go down to verse, here's one. Let's go to verse 16. I'm going to get to these verses because it's 20 through 23 that I want to focus on, but I want to kind of lay this out for you today. Look at verse 16. Verse 16 says, so let no one judge you. Some of you would stop right there. See? Told you. But look at this. Let no one judge you in food or in drink, or regarding a festival or a new moon or Sabbath, which are a shadow of things to come, but the substance is of Christ. Let no one cheat you of your reward, taking delight in false humility and worship of angels, intruding into those things which he has not seen, vainly puffed up by the flesh, by his fleshly mind, and not holding fast to the head, capital H, by the way, that would mean Christ, amen? From whom all the body, from whom all the body, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with increase that is from God. Outside the body you will not grow. Jesus didn't die so that you could DIY. Just so you know, FYI, right? For your information, he didn't die so you could do it yourself. Come on. Therefore, verse 20, we're getting there now. I finally made it. Thought I'd never get there. Just so you know, I haven't arrived yet. Therefore, if you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world, why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourselves to regulations? Do not touch, do not taste, do not handle, which all concern things which perish with the using, according to the commandments and the doctrines of men. These things indeed have an appearance of wisdom in self-imposed religion, false humility, and neglect the body, but are of no value against the indulgence of the flesh. In other words, none of these rules, none of these regulations can really keep you from sin. You can be the most devout person to be praying and to have your time in the Word and all. You can come to church 3 times a week. You can do all these things, but it doesn't keep you from sin. It might defer you from time to time. It might help you to determine that you're going to detour yourself because I'm going to do these things instead of doing sin. And I get it. You want to know why? Because these bodies, listen, we have to have something to do. What does it say about the idle mind or whatever?
Devil's workshop.
The devil's workshop. Really? How many want to put the devil out of work?
Amen.
Amen.
Some of us, watch this. Lord help me. Oh, he said, I'm here. Well, I can't say I heard his voice, but I just know he's here. He is here. Hallelujah. Some of us, we don't, listen, some of us put the devil out of work by doing his work.
Yes.
What? He doesn't have to do anything. Because we're so easily distracted. We're so easily led to do what we want to do. In other words, do what you want to do. But you know, God has come to give you what you want. Isn't that what it says? Didn't he say he'll give you the desires of your heart? Oh, but I really want this with all my heart. I'm all, what? Hold on. Just so you know, is it of God, this desire that you have? Or are we talking about he gives you a desire that he wants you to have? Oh, the love of Jesus. Amen? How many of you want the love of God? You got that already. How many, listen, how many of you want the presence of God? Well, let me get to this. Because the things we're talking about are the things and the practices of men. Where we go through the motions, maybe even emotions, but there's nothing of God in it. Oh, we've got the words, we've got the ritual. We spend time in prayer, kind of like the woman at the well when she said, you know, our forefathers, they worship, we know not what. Matter of fact, they didn't even know who they were worshiping. I'm just saying it, because the word tells you that. They really didn't know God. Although and get this, many of us, although we know God, we don't recognize him. Oh, God. Yes? Think about that. When was the last time that, we read the Bible like a self-help book, but let me throw this at you. Maybe you've never had this happen, because I know you're amazing people. You just are so accomplished at everything we do. Amen? That's okay. Everybody has a lie to tell. When was the last time that you perhaps had a self-help book or some article in a magazine, or maybe you watched, wait, here's one for you, YouTube. A do-it-yourself video, okay? So you watch somebody else do it, you say, I can do that. I mean, think about this. Even today, YouTube, you know, there are people out there right now, they're making a lot of money making YouTube videos. Make sure you subscribe, and like it, and all this other stuff. But what I found out recently from a friend of mine who's one of these guys that we've never seen each other face to face, but he's into this business, and it's hard work because he doesn't get a day of rest. Because did you know that the internet runs 24/7?
Oh, yeah.
But so he makes these videos and he gets the like and he gets the subscriptions, and what happens is that suddenly now he's getting paid to make the videos. There are subscribers that pay to make the videos. So what happens is that this kind of tells us that there's a lot of revenue to be made from these kind of things, you know. Because, how about this? You're searching for ways to lose 20 pounds in 10 days. All right, man. YouTube it. Go ahead. You're going to find there's going to be somebody out there. I can remember Brother Mike back in the day when I first got into lifting and stuff. You know, Muscle Man. Oh, man, Muscle Man. How to put on, watch this, how to put on 20 pounds of muscle in 30 days. Can I tell you, unless you're doing drugs, it's impossible. Hello.
Amen.
I'm going to tell you. The whole thing is you can become a better cook. You can become better organized. You can stop smoking. You can stop this. You can start that. Just so you know, I have tried to follow the instructions on a box of Betty Crocker, and I still can mess it up. Even if all I have to do is add water. Ask Brother Ed. I can butter the toast, but I can set it on fire just as easy. Let's be honest. Can we be honest this morning? How many of us would read a self-help book, and how many of us have tried to do all these things ourselves, and we actually succeeded every time? I guess maybe I'm not doing good, but what I'm telling you this morning, some things just cannot be accomplished on our own. It can't be done. We read here in Colossians chapter 2, Paul is reminding Christians in Colossae of this. He says that they died with Christ from the spiritual forces of this world. So why were they continuing to just go on and do the things that they did? They continued to submit themselves to the old way of doing things. Rather than putting their full trust in Jesus for salvation, they did a lot of stuff like we do. We try to fix it ourselves. Now, some of you will get this. They hedge their bets. They confess Jesus as Lord. but they continued to follow the old religious system. Just in case. You hear what I'm saying? Jesus is Lord, but I'm going to continue with my ritual just in case. Now, just so you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with having good habits that lead to sound doctrine, that lead to living a life that is right. But if all it is A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, you get this, you're not really living. You're not really walking in the Spirit. See, when there's a change of heart, you're going to get what your heart desires because God gave you the desire. Gathering together on a regular basis is something that God gives us, even though sometimes it's not good, even though sometimes the pastor doesn't preach so good, even sometimes the music isn't what we like, even sometimes lunch isn't what we like, we're going to come anyway. Or maybe you like it all, and the only reason you like it all is because God changed your heart. It's like I think I shared this week about worship and how many times I didn't share it. I guess I'll share it now. Just crossed my mind. It's part of this thing I'm writing. You may be wandering from God when your worship has gone cold, when it seems empty, when it doesn't seem to have any kind of influence or impact in your life, and it doesn't seem to have the same effect as it used to. And maybe it's because, maybe it's not your kind of music, it's not your style. Can I tell you, I have been to places where they sang songs. I couldn't understand one word of the song because it was in a foreign language. But you know what? I still felt the presence of God because I was in the worship. It wasn't in the language. It wasn't in the orchestration of the song. It wasn't necessarily the presentation of the orchestra or the choir or the singer or sometimes it was just one person with a guitar and a broken voice, or was it a voice and a broken guitar? But still, I was able to worship because I was made to worship. How can we be made to worship? Because I was born again. You and I were made to worship. Mike, write this down. I'm getting ready to write a song. You and I have been set free. You're taking notes, anybody? It's a good song right there. You were made for worship. Some rules do appear helpful. Many regulations and many traditions in the church appear helpful. But can I tell you that self-imposed restrictions are no match for sin? Colossians 2:23. Let's read this again. Listen. These things indeed have an appearance of wisdom in self-imposed religion, false humility, and neglect of the body, but are of no value against the indulgence of the flesh. I'm just not going to be tempted anymore. That was a dangerous thing to say, wasn't it? It's like, praise
Pray for patience.
because I just made up my mind not to be tempted. Wait, well, how are you going to do that? Well, wait, watch this. Well, every time temptation comes, I'm going to think on something else. I'm going to do something else. Wait a minute. Temptation is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And how you're going to respond to it is not something. But listen, have you ever heard? You've heard somebody that did something. I'm sorry, honey, it just happened. I said this just recently to a couple guys. I said, look, you did what you did because you intended to do it before you did it. I didn't. Yeah, no, guess what? Your body, your flesh, that's what it's prone to do. That's why it did it. So you did it because you'd already intended to do it in the flesh. Sin affects us all. Not me. Not going to affect me. I got my breastplate of righteousness on up here.
Amen.
I got my belt tightened up. I got my shoes on. Got my helmet of salvation. Got my shield of faith. I'm ready. Don't forget the sword, yeah. It's a little short sword, by the way. It's so that you can get in close and defeat the enemy. Hello? It's not like a lightsaber. Sin affects everybody. And the Bible tells us that. Let me give you just a couple of thoughts. Number one, in Romans chapter 3, verse 23, it says, all have
Sin.
and fallen short of.
The glory of God.
Oh. Now, some of you, that's what you act like. But here's the problem with that. The Bible talks about those who say they have no sin.
Ooh, our liars.
You liar.
Hands on fire.
Makes you look decent. You see, the desires of the flesh are too strong to fight with rules and to have restrictions alone. That's why we need Jesus. All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I'm free to give. Except this part, Jesus, I got this. No, wait a minute.
Wait.
I need you, Jesus. I need you more. I need you more. More than yesterday. More than words can say. I need you more than ever before. I need you, Lord. I need you, Jesus. Jesus. You see, because what happens is we play politics. That's a good time to start talking. We're coming into that season. Like, we're playing politics. Let me tell you what religion has a tendency of doing. Religion will always try to legislate morality with rules. Religion will always ask you to clean yourself up. And some of you have done that with other people who need help to be cleaned. Clean yourself up before you're accepted. Now, I get it. Wash your hands before you come to the table, please.
Amen.
Amen? I learned that from a young age. And you know what? The Bible says that in Galatians chapter 5, it says that if you are led by the Spirit, then you're not under the law. You're not under these obligations. You're not under these restrictions. Because you don't need the restrictions when you're in the Spirit. When you're able to walk in the Spirit, understanding that Jesus has changed us. No law, no rule, no regulation has ever changed a person's heart. It gets them in the mind, but it's never changed their heart. Only Jesus has a power to defeat sin in our lives. And maybe you know somebody right now, they're in the throes of a battle. They're in a fight for their life, or maybe they're in a fight for someone else's life, like Paul. Maybe you're a person like myself, that you are in conflict for others, not just with them, but you're in a conflict for others. You're interceding on behalf of others, and you go to the Lord in prayer, and you go to them being prayed up, and you're preaching to them. But listen, you love them so much that you're not just going to preach to them; you're going to share your life, if they'll let you. Colossians chapter 3, and I'm going to be just sharing this little bit of this part here in Colossians chapter 3, because I just want to quickly introduce you to the idea that you can become the people that God knows we can become. Watch this. I have this confidence in you, that he who began the work in you is able to complete that work in you. Turn to your neighbor and say, I've got confidence of God in you. He can change it. He can change you. Let's look at these first 4 verses. Let's let me give you these 4 verses. Listen to this. And you can take this home to somebody, maybe a loved one, maybe someone that missed it, or maybe someone you just want to share because they're struggling in their faith walk. Listen to what he says. If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on the things of the earth. For you died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, appears, wait, I want to say that again. When Christ, who is our life, when Christ is our life, then you will also appear with him in glory. Boy, we could go on. Let me share a little more here. Therefore, put to death your members. I thought about that this morning. Oh, and I had to repent. Because that ain't what it meant. Put to death your members which are on the earth. And it goes with fornication, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. Because of these things, the wrath of God is coming upon the sons of disobedience, in which you yourselves once walked when you lived in them. But now, say this with me, but now, you yourselves are to put off all these anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language out of your mouth. Do not lie one to another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, who is renewed in the knowledge according to the image of him who has created us, which is God, by the way.
Amen.
If he who began a good work can finish that work. In other words, he can finish you and create in you not just a clean heart, but a new image. You've got a new attitude. I know, I was almost to dance, but then I'd hear Ashley or maybe Amanda or something say, no, Pastor, no, Dad. And Debbie would say, nah, cut it out. You're embarrassing yourself. That's not the truth. Usually I'm not embarrassed at the time.
But you are being filmed.
I am. There's no escaping it. I just want to give you this real quick, and then we're going to go to the Lord in prayer. Because we have a lot to pray about.
Amen.
And I'm really encouraged that some of you came to the altar today. I also want to encourage you in something else. Throughout the week, on Wednesday, for instance, there's a time of prayer before there's a Bible study that follows, right? Avail yourself. Family training hour on Thursday night. There's a meal. Usually it's pretty doggone good. Hello. It's always good. But then we have a word. Sunday school. You're not going to want to miss. I'll just say this. If you short yourself on what God wants to do right now, I don't know.